What is body dysmorphic disorder? Many people don't like the way that they look or they don't like features about themselves, but that's not the same thing as having body dysmorphic disorder. I'm Dr. Judith, a board-certified psychiatrist, researcher, and award-winning content creator, and author of my national best-selling book, High Functioning. Body dysmorphic disorder, according to the DSM-5, has to meet specific criteria. And I've come up with an acronym to help you remember what body dysmorphic disorder is. The acronym is FRAME. The F in FRAME stands for flaws. Many people living with body dysmorphic disorder will fixate on specific physical flaws, even though there may not be something very obvious about their physical features to make them feel negatively about themselves. For example, a common feature that people fixate on is their nose, and people may want to go through several cosmetic procedures or physical alterations or go to great lengths to change the appearance of their nose. But that's not the only physical feature that people with body dysmorphic disorder focus on. There are other aspects of their physicality, such as height, that people tend to focus on. The second part of FRAME is R for repetitive behaviors. Someone with body dysmorphic disorder will be constantly looking at themselves in a mirror. These repetitive behaviors can get in the way of the person carrying out their day-to-day activities. Another repetitive behavior can actually be a mental repetitive behavior, such as constantly comparing themselves to other people who perhaps they believe have a better appearance. And this constant repetitive comparison can take up a lot of time and mental effort and really create a burden on the person who is living with body dysmorphic disorder. The A in FRAME has to do with anxiety or anguish. So the symptoms of body dysmorphic disorder, such as focusing heavily on flaws and repetitive checking, have to also create a significant amount of anguish and anxiety for the person. It's not enough for someone to be like, oh, I don't like the way I look, and then they're okay walking around through life and they're not exhibiting a lot of anguish or anxiety or distress. The person has to also have a significant amount of anguish related to the symptoms of body dysmorphic disorder. And this anguish and anxiety actually has to impair what they do in their day-to-day life. So for example, someone would not want to go to a party, or they make a lot of excuses not to leave the house, or they avoid being out and about around others or even going to work or school because they're so fixated on the way they look and their perceived flaws, and also on those repetitive behaviors that they engage in. The M stands for medical. So there can't be other medical conditions causing the symptoms of body dysmorphic disorder. So for example, if someone's primary condition is an eating disorder, then that may cause some of what we see in body dysmorphia, but the eating disorder is the primary condition that's causing the symptoms, not the body dysmorphic disorder. Also, some people have medical conditions, such as neurological conditions or brain disorders that may impair their thinking and self-perception. So if that is the primary condition leading to the symptoms that we're seeing with body dysmorphic disorder, then it's not primary body dysmorphic disorder. So the M stands for you got to rule out other medical conditions causing the symptoms. The M stands for medical conditions. So you have to rule out medical conditions. For example, if someone has a neurological condition or a brain condition, let's say a tumor or a mass or something that's causing the perceived issues with body image, then that cannot be primary body dysmorphic disorder because another medical condition is causing the symptoms that we're seeing. And then the E stands for eating disorders. It cannot be caused by an eating disorder. So if an eating disorder is primary, let's say the person has anorexia nervosa or bulimia disorder, and their primary eating disorder is causing what you're seeing in terms of the body dysmorphia, then it's not true body dysmorphic disorder. It has to be separate from those. So when you think FRAME, think about these symptoms that I talked about, and this is how we classify body dysmorphic disorder. What do you think? The most common therapies for people living with body dysmorphic disorder happen to be behavioral therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy. These therapies aim at challenging negative automatic thoughts and helping you to reframe and restructure your thinking so that your feelings feel more regulated and so that your behaviors are changed. Cognitive behavioral therapies carry the notion that behaviors are learned, thus behaviors can be changed. Also, for some individuals, medication management may be useful because people living with body dysmorphic disorder may also have depression or anxiety, and medications like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, a form of an antidepressant, may be helpful in addressing some of those symptoms of anxiety and depression. The other thing is that you want to be able to catch the symptoms early, because when you catch symptoms earlier, you may prevent a full-blown condition. For example, many of my clients will say that their symptoms really started in adolescence. Let's say when someone may have teased their parents, or something happened where they became a bit more self-conscious, and they continued with these symptoms that slowly developed into a body dysmorphic disorder because they didn't have the supports and the therapies in place to support them. So it's helpful for parents to be on the lookout for whether or not your teen may be focusing heavily on the way they look, spending a lot of time in the bathroom, scrutinizing themselves, or saying negative things about their physical appearance, because you want to offer them the support early in their development when you can actually prevent a condition from happening. Let me know what you think.